Hey dolls, welcome to my channel. Today we're taking a look at Queen of the Dark Forest by JHD. Here's what it looks like when you first open up the box. Right off the bat, I want to say that I'm pretty surprised at how green this doll is. I don't know if the camera is showing it. I think it's pretty accurate, but just it's slightly more green in real life. It's just this really dark foresty green. I guess it makes sense because she's Queen of the Dark Forest, but in the promotional images I kind of was under the impression that she was wearing a black dress. This is sort of your standard JHD presentation with the ribbons and this gold drawer thing up top. I like that, I really do. And also this stand off to the side. I like it because it's very presentable but also really easy to access, and it's just so satisfying. But this time we've got this flappy thing, a little less classy, but still, like, I'm not mad at it. But something I thought was a little strange was that this appears to be kind of glued down. I'd rather they have just not. Like, I don't even need those T-ties. But I will say it seems that there's no residue. Or actually, there's this tiny splooge, but I think it's really easy to pick off because it just kind of seems to come off. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so maybe that's a plus point for you inbox collectors. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Okay, just thought you wanted to know. I'm not a stickler for packaging, but I thought this was a little unusual. They've taped her knees with just regular paper and Scotch tape. I think I might have seen some other dolls like this, but it's not very common in my collection, so I actually am not too sure why they do this. I'm sure it's to protect the joints in some way or another, but not too sure in exactly specifically what this is supposed to stop from happening. Another interesting little packaging detail is that they actually looped the hairnet around this thread to really fasten her back to this thing and still keep her hair perfect. And I also noticed that she's got her hands covered in plastic. I think they're upping their packaging game to really prevent any damage from occurring, so that's kind of cool. That's nice to see that they care. In case you were skeptical, these white ribbons actually held her in place really well, like super securely, but they were so easy to take her out from, and at the same time, I think they look really cute. Here's a closer look at that little Ziploc bag I was talking about. Something about it just strikes me as a little odd. Maybe because it's this kind of thick, slightly more opaque plastic, and it's literally a Ziploc bag instead of, I don't know, having some kind of baggie like this, which typically is how things would be packaged. This is definitely more secure as opposed to this, but it looks, I don't know, it just seems a little weird. Anyway, not to harp too much on the packaging, but it's just something I wanted to point out because it was a little odd. I feel like maybe the reason why it's put in such a thick plastic bag and also literally like taped in there and kind of shoved away from everything is perhaps because this has the tendency to stain. I know, you know, dye transfer is a thing with, especially with dark colors, and that's kind of a bummer because, I mean, I would like to display her with this like 24/7. This stand is just your stock standard JHD stand, but I did find it a little weird that it didn't come with the protective film that it typically does. So it's just the raw acrylic, but in like the little plastic baggie instead of having that peel-off protection, which I think is so important for acrylic, especially if you're going to be charging this much for a doll. The top bit doesn't have it either, but yeah, it's just the typical saddle stand mold, and Same metal mechanism. Really quick before we get into the doll, I just want to say that part of the extras is the certificate of authenticity. So like it says, it was released in 2024 and designed by JHDFashiondoll. And the numbers are handwritten. Mine is 140 out of 660. So only 660 of these in the world. The back is just plain, but it's a nice thick material. So not very much in the way of extras for this doll, but we also have a second pair of hands, and this pair is actually really similar to the ones that she comes with. Here's a closer look at the differences. So essentially this one is just more evenly spread between the fingers, and the index finger is slightly more straightened, but that's about it. It's really very similar poses and the same manicure as well. So this is her fully assembled, and she is definitely a statement piece. She takes up quite a bit of real estate, and honestly you could probably spread this a little more. Yeah, she's pretty big. She is so couture. I love it. And I love how impactful she is. At the same time, you can definitely compromise, because this is just like, it's just fabric that's taking up space. So if you needed more space, you could definitely minimize this. Her JHD skin tone is white. She uses the Camorra face sculpt, and this is what her screening looks like. She's got rooted lashes as per usual. The color of her hair is light gold. It is super soft, long, and product free. This is Saran, and it is glorious. It comes down to about her mid-thigh area. She's on a Fashion Model 2.0 body, and so she has the standard points of articulation that we see with JHD. Your shoulders, elbows, wrist, thigh, knees, hips, chest joint. And one thing I noticed about this one is her neck joint, not super mobile. She can't really stretch up too far. She just kind of goes like that. That's a little bit of a bummer. So her crowning glory, her literal crown, is absolutely gorgeous, and it is pretty rare that we get something of this quality and caliber in fashion dolls, I think, that are very accessible and not like one of a kind, because this is metal and it's hefty. It feels so good. It makes a clang when it drops. I accidentally dropped it, but no chipping, and it's this gorgeous gold, and it sits really well on her head without any bands, but it's also easy to remove, so it's not a pain to deal with at all. You can move it around, and I tried it in reverse, and you can do that too, but it looks kind of like old-timey monk, like, you know, old-timey monk hairstyle. This is really cool. So basically she has this netted fabric with gold streaks in it, and they are sewn into hooks on each of the prongs, and the prongs are like so detailed in their sculpt. These are like thorns or branches or twigs, something like that. Very cool. And these come up into sort of leaf shapes, leaf or petal shapes. It's kind of reminding me of Lydia from Beetlejuice's hair. And it's phenomenal. So then down here we've got more of that kind of raw jagged edge. This is just a veil, but it's amazing, and I love how much fabric we get in this doll. It's insane. So it's a whole lot of fabric, like it stretches out quite a bit. And let me show you the back. So it comes down all the way, and this is the back of her dress already. So as you can see, it basically, the whole thing just melts together so beautifully. If we look at the dress itself, which is also so gorgeous. So Vivienne Westwood, her sleeves are these kind of poofy things that are kind of bunched or like ruched in two sections, here and here, and that gives you this gorgeous poofy kind of silhouette. And there's so much depth to it because it's this metallic, dark foresty, gray kind of silver material underneath, and then over the top we have this netted black mesh with the gold streaks like we see up here. It's so beautiful. And she has a ruffled turtleneck collar. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'll get into the other pieces in a bit, but yeah, I just want to show you the construction. So this comes down to about her hips, and then this is how it folds, and then it's a high-low, but it's different. Like, look at the ruffling here. Phenomenal. And it just feels so good. It's not lined, but I'm fine with that. I don't need it to be lined. There's even more fabric in here. So that same mesh material that just gives you a little bit more to go and fill out and really bring the vision to life. You could do that, or you could hide it entirely if you wanted, I guess. It fills in the gaps here, so it doesn't quite look like your stereotypical high-low. The ruffles do that too, and the skirt kind of curves out at the hips. I just wanted to mention that part of the reason why I feel like a high-low silhouette, although it's not super groundbreaking, works extremely well in this instance is because she's meant to be queen of the dark forest. So it gives you this motion that she's kind of like trudging through the forest. Like I mentioned before, it's not just a straightforward high-low cut. They put an effort to have ruffles and things like that to alter the shape a little bit and give it a little bit more life. Also, this allows us to have this gorgeous armor boot, which is very much queen of the dark forest because it's a boot. She's in the forest, but it's also kind of like armor, like a queen, or sort of like medieval-esque vibes, if that makes any sense. One of the main attractions of a high-low silhouette is the fact that you get to see the footwear, and this utilizes all that space super well, even down to the extra fabric down here. By the way, I also really appreciate that this comes in with a built-in underwear thing. This is attached to the dress. And then we come to her shoes. I think perhaps the reason why they had that really annoying to remove protection on her knees was to prevent staining from the boots. But I would have preferred clear plastic, just something thin, because the scotch tape in the paper would have shown because of how this is cut. Pretty sure that would restrict her posability. It's just something that we haven't really come around, I suppose. But I love these boots. They fit perfectly on the doll. So easy to get on. This is Velcro down here, and this is just a solid piece through. She has these beautiful shiny gold studs. They seem pretty securely glued on. Nothing has come out. I'm very happy about that. I would be very sore if that happened. I could fix it, sure, but it's a huge pet peeve of mine. It's so irritating. Her tiny feet are in this heel, which is well made as well. I love that it's a hard heel, thank God. So no warping, no nothing. That's another big pet peeve of mine. Even down here, it's not just like a plain cut. Like, you see how it comes down like that in a triangle on both sides, and then we've got little slits of the pleather, and you can see how it's sewn and everything. It's beautiful. Mizi engraved on it, and it's super glossy, which is cool. These boots are so cool. I think they're meant to mimic armor, and they're so high fashion. Like, it's so obviously armor, but it's so modern, and I could see myself wearing these. These are cool. So they kind of have like a knee pad kind of look to them, like even down to this little attachment down the side. The way that these are constructed, because they kind of mimic armor, allow you to pose freely still, even though it's such high coverage, high length footwear. So that's pretty cool. Now for the other pleather bits. So she has a corset which has these intricate little details, cutouts down the middle, gold studs on top, very flattering silhouette, and gold eyelets with gold ribbons. This corset is more like a vest, so it comes around back. These are plastic buttons, and it comes up to the front with straps like that, which is so cool. This is a very nice silhouette. It looks like it's two pieces, but it's one piece, but it's just really cool. And it's something you might miss upon first glance, and then you look again and you just really appreciate it. Coming down to her gauntlets, I think. These are similar and fit in with the rest of the vibe and are so intricate. Each of these is stitched individually. I had to look at the underside because there are these triangles, and it's kind of like a chevron kind of thing, and it points inwards. So each of these is a separate layer. 1, 2, 3, as you can see. And they've got the gold studs again, gold eyelets, and gold gold lace. And I just really want to point out that I appreciate so much that this is kind of a green tinged gold, because it fits the whole color scheme blends so perfectly. I'm very glad they didn't just toss any old gold together. As an artist, this is the kind of thing I really appreciate. And here's a closer look at her manicure too. By the way, these are completely removable, as you would have guessed. So these came separate and I put them on. The sleeve under here is just flat, so it was really easy to put on. Her hands do pop off, but the joints are very secure. That is something I appreciate about JHD. They have a pretty good hand joint mechanism. They basically have 3 rib lines, so that really locks it into place. All right, on to my final thoughts. So before anything, I would like to express my great frustration with the saddle stand. It's a saddle stand thing. You know how the dolls just start yee-hawing and like teeter-tottering on the stands? Yeah. But at the moment, I don't think we've caught up with a perfect solution. So if you have a gorgeous gown like this, you're just kind of gonna have to accept the fact that you're probably gonna have to display your doll on a saddle stand. But it was just extra frustrating because she has a metal headpiece and it's not like glued to her head. So a lot of times when she teetered backwards, this would fall off. I don't know, it's really annoying. Thank God this is easy to put on, and it does stay on. Like for how it's put on, it does fit well. I don't think they could have made it fit better, so I'm not complaining about that. But it was a frustrating experience trying to film and show you guys all the bits and pieces because of the saddle stand. So she is pretty weighty, but that's a testament to her quality. Oh, I do want to note that the base doll itself is not weighty. We still have that like hollow plastic feel that we get with JHD. I think that deters a lot of people from JHD, especially for their price point. JHD, to me, excels at fantasy dolls. I think boy dolls, because they're not afraid to go and really run with it and try new things with their boy dolls. So this girl is a fantasy girl, and look at look at this excellence. And I mean, I don't think I've seen something reminiscent of this in other doll lines. Like, yes, some of their other dolls, that's the thing about JHD. I find that when they do typical fashion, it's a little safe and it tends to be a little derivative of other brands that may offer us better quality or are just a little bit more refined with their age and how established they are, which also gives them a bit more money to have a bit more quality, and there's a bit more of like brand assurance there as well, and brand familiarity there as well. So I think they lose out a lot in that regard. But when it comes to stuff like this where they really let themselves run wild, you get something so beautiful and unique that I think is really worth looking at. So I may not get every JHD doll, but I definitely keep my eye on them because you never know when they're going to come up with amazing things. I actually recorded another review of a different Mizi doll like last year, but I lost the footage, so I'm gonna have to refilm that. That one is a gorgeous, unique doll as well, and I really want to share her with you, so I will be refilming that. I think that this is definitely a crowning piece in my collection now. I'm very, very happy with the quality of the pieces here. You have her gorgeous metal crown, which is like so hard to fight for, so hard to get in public owned brands like Mattel and things like that. So hard. Like if we ever got that from Mattel, we might just end up getting like, I don't know, a plastic arm with it or something because of budgeting reasons. I mean, you know I love Barbie, but it's a public entity and higher ups are a thing. So cohesive. It's such a beautiful vision, and I think it was executed perfectly. I am a little worried about staining and things, but that's just something that comes with the hobby, I suppose. It's so cool that these pieces are removable, so that allows for a lot of restyling, like 1, 2, 3 pieces. Not a whole lot, but you can definitely get a lot out of it. And I think you could go for a medieval look, you could go for a punk look, a little bit more street. There's a lot you could do. I really appreciate that these are so detailed and so easy to put on. These didn't give me any trouble like putting them on. It was so easy, so quick. But these stay on, and I'm very glad for that. Oh, I spoke too soon about the studs. Looks like I have a missing one. I'll try to look for it. I doubt it's with me, which is a little bit more upsetting because I think I would have noticed it. But yeah, it's an easy fix. I can just glue it on. But yeah, that's not great. I could probably find a replacement though because these are gold. But I think they really went the extra mile because each of these pieces has several components that's carefully pieced together, carefully sewn together and constructed to give you just this extra oomph, like even with the filler over here with the extra fabric. That's another thing, like loads and loads of fabric. They weren't stinging out on this one. And then on top of the construction of the multiple panels and things like that, we still have different materials, different embellishments. Like we have the gold studs, we have the gold eyelets, the gold ribboning. It's beautiful and so cohesive, and I really love this doll. To me, this doll is worth the money, but I can see why it's not for everyone. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and that was a closer look at the details on Queen of the Dark Forest by JHD. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.